I'm going to text Matty Primus right now and say, you guys talk to. I want talk amongst yourselves for 2 secs. Matty, here we go. Matty Primus.
I'm going to get a message from him going, are you harassing me via third parties?
Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of Pears On A Pod. It is episode 11, or as Huddo would say, 2 big goalposts on a podcast. Oh, we'll introduce the man, Jack Hudson. Huddo, welcome to another edition, mate.
Hey, mate. Yeah, my worst sleds I've ever wheeled out at a football game. Thanks for reminding me of that. Well done.
Yes, well, it was prime time. And speaking of prime, it's our special guest this week, and it's Huddo's favourite man of all time. we speak of Travis Boak, myself. We love Robbie Gray. Everyone has a favourite player, and Huddo wanted this so bad that Norts sent out a text live last week, and we finally got him. I speak of the Port Adelaide captain from the early 2000s. He played 157 games, 81 goals. It's the 1998 Cleo Bachelor of the Year, Mr. Matthew Primus. Matty, welcome to the pod.
And good evening, boys. How are we going?
Very well, mate.
It's you say I responded to Nort's text. So Jack rang me this hour just to organise it all, and I texted him back only an hour or so for an email, and I realised he texted me back on the 8th of April to ask me to get on the podcast. I haven't got back to him, so bloody terrible by me. So anyhow, we got here eventually.
That's all right. Norts will take all the credit for it, which is the best bit.
We will do that.
But, Matty, run us through what you've been doing. You've obviously been doing a bit of stuff still within football. So, yeah, take us through.
Yeah, I'm up here still living on the Gold Coast. So once I got moved on by the Suns, Southport Sharks, so they played in the NEFL competition. It was 4 years ago, I think now. And then we joined the VFL competition, the new Eastern Seaboard comp. So the VFL comp, 2 Sydney teams, and us Suns and Brisbane up here. So we joined that last year, and I'm an assistant coach there. One of the head coach used to be at the Suns, and asked me to come along. So I still got a good interest in footy. It's a good level to play, to coach at. You know, they're semi-professional, but we have a bit more fun than what you do at AFL level. And so, yeah, been doing that. I think it's 5 years now, but really 1 year was ruined, or 4 years. 1 year was ruined with COVID. And last year, I think we played a few games up here, but then the comp got cancelled because of Victorian issues with COVID too. So this is our first rural season in the VFL. So, yeah, still enjoying that, and, getting my fix of footy through that.
Has it been a bit weird, you're playing in the VFL, but you're based in Queensland? It's a bit odd.
Yeah, it's a weird competition. It's look, it's good. We were pretty strong in the NEFL, and I think a lot of so we used to play Sydney reserves, Giants reserves. There was a couple of standalone Sydney teams, and obviously Brisbane and the Lions and the Suns team up here, and 2 standalone teams up in Brisbane. But the AFL teams didn't think the competition was good enough for them to develop their players to play AFL footy. So they probably put a push on it, and that's the AFL took the opportunity for us to, unfortunately it's still called the VFL, with that Victorian-centric side of things. But, it's a really strong competition. We play against some strong AFL reserve teams, some pretty proud Victorian standalone teams, but we're sitting second on the ladder at the moment, just behind Melbourne, who are on top. And, we've got a pretty good mature list. So it is a bit different, but it's good to travel down to Melbourne and Sydney and play games of footy, and, as I said, to get our fix that way.
We just recently picked up Boyd Woodcock this year, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Ex-footy boy. How's he tracking?
He's going great. He's having a ripping year. I think he's sitting second in the coaches award, behind another of our players who's first. He won a medal last week. We played the Northern Bull Ants, and we both had a player that unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. So there's a medal named to his honour, and Boyd won that. He's flying along. He's great character. Brings a bit of X factor to us, and the dyed blonde hair and the pink boots and all those sorts of things. But he's fitted in really well. We had a pretty strong culture there, and he's fitted in really well to that, and added another bow to us. We're a pretty transient place up here, so we have a few players and we lose a few, but he's fitted in really well this year.
That's good. And I'll take you back, Matty, probably to the start of your footy days as well. So you're on Geelong's list for a bit, and then got cut and then moved on to Norwood. So how healthy was that change for you?
Pretty healthy. It was, a Geelong boy. So like all those ones, the teams you support, your dream is to play for the Cats. I spent my childhood in the stand there watching Geelong play and all those sorts of things, but that didn't turn out. And I was miles off when I was a young kid, development and skill and everything. And Nord had been in touch through the Teal Cup or under 17 competition, what it was back then. And I thought, well, that was the second best comp in the land and probably still is. And if I want to try and get back in there and go and play against some men, I'll head over there. So, it was great for my development off field to grow up and learn to get a job and cook for myself and all those sorts of things you do when you move out of mum and dad's little cocoon. And a terrific club, some great players like a Gary McIntosh and a Jerry D'Antocci and a Chris Prime, like some old school SANFL players, coached by Neil Craig. So a great coach who I love playing under. And for 2 years there, it certainly sped up my development and gave me a great opportunity to get back into the AFL.
You ended up coaching against him, didn't you, actually, for a showdown or two?
I did, yes. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Craigie, yes, at the end. I'm not sure what the record was there, but we'll say we won him. But he was terrific, Neil, to see where he's gone on to. And I know only here, I think the Poms, the rugby union, are in camp training to play the Wallabies, and he's involved in that with Eddie Jones. So it's amazing where he's gone on to in his career.
And moving on to Fitzroy as well in your AFL career. So obviously their last season, what was that experience like? Would have been probably one of the more unique experiences that you can probably feel in football. I'd say that a club's future is basically gone and then you don't know where you sit.
Yeah, really unique, I suppose, like all young kids. It's a bit different nowadays with the amount of money in the game. But when you get drafted, your expectations are you're going to an AFL club and things are going to be rosy. But we were sharing an oval with Coburg. I think that's the oval we trained at. So they were probably in the VFL, I think it was. And we shared an oval with them. We trained at another school oval when that wasn't available. We trained in a gym out the back and all sorts of things that when I come from Nord, which was a pretty well-off club and had their own great facilities and all those sorts of things, it was a bit of an eye-opener, but it was a really strong group of guys, a lot of youth in there. But it was an amazing year. It was, I think we had times when I think our major sponsors were Nauru Island at some stage, or major backers, and they went belly up or something. Money didn't come through, so we didn't have insurance for a game, and we were told a couple of hours before a game, we might not get covered under insurance, so you don't have to play if you don't want to, and just things like this heading into an AFL game. And the merger talk went on for a while there, and then it was, it got a little bit standoffish between the club and the AFL, and especially some players who had been at Fitzroy for quite some time, like a Brad Boyd and a Jeff Hogg and a Jason Baldwin, and those guys who'd been there a long time. So it had become a really, not bitter and twisted, but a difficult way to finish off our year, because in the end we merged with Brisbane and they were going to take 10 of our players and everybody was trying to showcase their own talents, and our team aspect went out the window a little bit and a few floggings, but it definitely taught you to just worry about your own preparation, don't worry about the outside noise and all those sorts of things, because some of those things we dealt with, players wouldn't have had to deal with ever since then. So, we got to play. I remember our last game, we played Richmond at the MCG. Last time Fitzroy played in Melbourne, and there was 60-odd thousand at the MCG. We were playing at the Whitten Oval in front of 5,000 for most of the year. And then we had a great farewell game against the Dockers over in Subiaco, or the Wacker it might have been. And a really unique year, but certainly something I'll remember fondly. And a lot of good players went on and had good careers at other clubs after that.
We speak of other clubs. The move to Port Adelaide, that's what we've come to know and love you about. Tell us about the process of going to Port and having John Cale as the coach when you first moved.
Yeah, I know what you guys' memories like. Mine's a little bit hazy. I know I was in touch with a couple of clubs, and Brisbane were keen to take me. I think they could take 15 players or something, but I think we got wind of they were keen on 5 or 6 of them, and the rest they were just going to use as maybe trade bait or see what happens. And I didn't want to go to a non-footy environment and get lost if I wasn't able to play AFL footy straight away and lost in the system. And obviously I knew Port Adelaide, having played against them at Nord, knew what they were about. Spoke to Brian Cunningham, who was the CEO, and Jack and Choco, who was going to be there as the assistant. And I knew Adelaide well. I had a good support system there, and thought it'd be a great opportunity to come into a club that wanted to be successful straight away. So it was a bit of a no-brainer. There's a few deals done behind the scenes, and found my way over to Port to start a pre-season at the police academy there in Largs Bay under Jack, and He wasn't a fan of drinking water in 40-degree heat over a 3 or 4 day camp. That was the first water makes you weak was his motto. And imagine how that go down nowadays with pre-season at AFL clubs. But yeah, look, it was great fun. We had players from all over Australia, sort of thing, and then we had a handful of Magpie guys too. And yeah, it was a really good pre-season, good bonding time. Great bunch of lads, and as you guys know, we had a pretty successful year for any team that came into the competition the first year. We just missed the 8 heading into the last round. I think we played the grand finals in that last round, so we had a really good year, and it was bloody exciting.
What was that first win against Geelong like? Like, would have been nice for you as well, getting one over the team that let you go too.
Yeah. Well, it was great because I think we'd come close. We were building for 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters. Then we played Essendon the week before, and we'd been okay. And they were coming off a pretty good year in '97, and they were pretty good in '98, I think. So yeah, it was great. It was a Friday night or a Saturday night at Amy Park, wasn't it? Amy Stadium.
Footy Park, Amy Stadium.
Yes. Yeah, and yeah, we were just on them all over them. Youthful exuberance. We had some great passion. Great thing about Jack, as you guys know, he had great belief in players. We were able to instill great belief, and yeah, it was fantastic. I think we dominated. We never really looked like losing the game, and yeah, we certainly enjoyed that. Celebrated pretty hard, but then were able to get on a bit of a roll. I'm not sure how many we won after that, but it was. I think because we got to win early on in our season rather than taking 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks and the pressure building. Well, hang on, we actually belong here because Geelong are a traditional team, and we just knocked them off, and we felt like we belonged pretty quickly.
And then when you move through the years of developing the Port squad, 1999 making finals for the first time, Gavin Wanganeen obviously being captain. 2001, you become captain. How was that for you, being a captain of the footy club, let alone being captain of Port Adelaide?
Yeah, it wasn't ever something I'd set out to do. I think I love training. I love keeping fit. So I always loved pre-season training. I wasn't a skillful kind of guy, so I was always train hard, play hard, those sorts of things, whether it was getting in fitness or footy skills. And so I think naturally that just came along, but I wasn't ever looking for leadership stuff. It was just the way I went about my training and playing. And then, Gav had, he shouldered an enormous load for us for 4 or 5 years, being the face of the club and copying it from the opposition every week. And then, and that wasn't down his path, but he certainly did that for the club to help us get on the national stage. And then the coaches, I think, discussed about it, and Choco decided to go with me, and he asked to come around to his house for wouldn't have been a coffee, would have been a hot chocolate and a muffin. And look, I'd love to, not really knowing, thrilled by the opportunity, but not actually understanding the complete big picture of what it was going to be like and entail. But I said, yeah, no worries. And, Chocolate, obviously, that was his 3rd year of coaching the club, and I loved how he coached and what he was about and all those sorts of things. And, look, a huge honour. The best thing, to have the number 1 on your jumper and lead out your club every home game or every game and run out and lead them was terrific, and one of the proudest moments of my career. Whether it was the first game I captain, whatever, however many I did, it was I just loved it, and it was certainly something I hold up as high as anything else I've achieved in my career.
Speaking of achievements, like you hear Brownlows, you hear Coleman's, premierships, all that jazz, but you literally had the AFL change a rule to combat your dominance. How did that sort of feel? It's like, this is a bit stiff, surely. Yeah,
well, it's probably a bit like what happens the last 10 years. The rule changes they make, we say why, and a team or a player or whatever is take advantage of a rule, or they dominate, and then something gets brought up. Whether it was a lot of the flooding that went on, or the coming forward to defend with 150 rotations, and they changed this. It was just an aspect of, after a couple of knee reconstructions, I couldn't jump as much as I liked to or was able to. So I was use my strength, and, some players it was a good battle against, and some didn't like it, the ones with the jumpers, and it certainly gave me a good avenue to beat them. And then we become a good team. I developed my craft and felt comfortable in my body, and was able to all of a sudden mark and kick and those things that I wasn't very good at, and become a good player. And then I suppose if you're dominant in an area, they look to try and free up something. There was a lot of complaints about the way I rucked, and obviously it lasted for a few years, but then they changed the rules. So I don't remember the rule being too bad, but yeah, it definitely felt as if it was a bit individualised to an extent. But the powers that be and the suits behind the scenes decide to do something, as we've seen with other rule changes. They certainly get their way.
And this year we've seen the descent rule as well. I reckon you've gotten a bit of strife a few times, Matty. I reckon you nearly threw a ball at an umpire once.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have been any good. Only funny to say that I had our review with our Sharks last night, and we had a bit of an undisciplined game, giving away a few free kicks and guys getting angry and that kind of stuff. And I said, look, I'm not one to talk. When I played, I wouldn't have been good in the modern way it is now. But how to cool and calm yourself down. So, yeah, the descent rule would have been bloody hard. But as we see, players always adapt and get around it. And, yeah, it's certainly I said a few choice words out there that you wouldn't like to do now. But, that was, the lay of the land, and that's how you went about it back then. And those were sort of, that was the way I sort of played the game. And when I was at my best, was sort of on the edge a little bit.
How was it just being a ruckman in general? During that time, there was a lot of great ruckmen around. For yourself to dominate and actually change a rule, what was it about being a ruckman that you were able to take the game on in such a different way compared to a midfielder, a forward, or a backman? Yeah,
good question. I suppose it was, our coaching staff at the time. This branches off in a little bit, but we had an amazing coaching staff that wanted to be, what was their point of difference going to be compared to the other coaching staff, and they broke down the game in a way, different ways you scored, and stoppages at that period of the time was the biggest scoring source. So let's become the best in the business of that. And we had some amazing on ballers, really good tall men. Myself and Lady Barnaby French there for a period, and then Brokes come on towards the end there. So it was like, rightio, what can we do? And me and Brennan played a fair bit of footy together. We're completely different styles, but what gives us the best way to make this source the best way to get scores or get the ball inside 50, and we had a pretty good forward line too. So it was it sort of just evolved. As I say, I lost my ability to jump and probably a bit of confidence in jumping with my knees. And I tried a few things when I wore a brace there for 10 or so games coming back from knees, and all of a sudden coming across the line or blocking the path as it's seen now, but it was using my size and bulk seemed to work really well. And the other guys didn't adapt to it. Some did. I do a bit of commentary up here with Jeff White, and he used to give me nightmares because he was able to jump over my head and never see where he was from. But most didn't. So it because they didn't try and work their way around it. And I worked on that craft pretty good. And as I say, we had some pretty good on ball group. And I took pride. I wasn't a big possession winner, but I took pride in if I could have 10 hit outs as a result of just getting inside 50 and kicking goals. I was as proud as that as having 20 touches or, those sorts of things. So, I took a lot of pride in the craft I was able to develop.
I think a lot of your teammates actually said that you were the ultimate team player, and I think it really showed in 2004, obviously, when the premiership. So tell us a bit about how you were feeling like throughout that season, and then obviously grand final day. Obviously would have been tough, but you were the happiest man on the planet, everyone had said.
Well, yeah, that was the way I made it look. It was look. Obviously, I did the knee. I don't know, early in that year. I don't know what round it was, but it was early. So you had a fair bit of time to contemplate what you're going to miss out on. Once you do your knee, your whole year's gone. And I knew we were going to be a good team again. Did I know we we're going to win a flag? No, but I thought we were definitely a good chance. We tweaked a couple of things. We've nearly been there for a few years, and that's sort of the mix that you have to do to eventually be able to win one. You don't win one just you're fluke in your first year. So, I had lots of emotions during the year. I loved being around the boys and the footy club, and I had the coaches brought me in, and I was able to sit and go and watch opposition and help out in meetings. So I was still engaged, and that's why I didn't want to disappear and not do anything. I still want to be around the club. And probably as the season progressed and then the finals came in, there just was a feel about, hey, I think we're going to make a grand final at least, because as you guys know, we hadn't even got, we got to a prelim, but hadn't got to a couple of prelims either. So it felt like something special was going to happen. And then you start to think about that when you get away from the club and go home and go for a run or a bike ride, you start thinking of all the things you might miss out on. So mixed emotions, but thrilled because the club had been through, as you guys know, supporting the place, it had been through a fair bit of pain. And self-inflicted. We hadn't done what we should have done, hadn't gone further, and there was a fair bit of pressure on it. So to see everybody at the club, not just the players, the coaching staff, the admin, everybody involved in the club, to see them get the best prize in the end, I was wrapped with, but I was also devastated not to be a part of it, because that was, I wouldn't care if I played 10 games and had a flag, I would have been happy. Just to win a premiership is the best thing by a million miles. And even though, I still catch up with guys, and when we get together, I'll come down for the reunions. It's still not quite it as much as if you played for it. So, it was a unique day. It was a great day. But halfway through the third quarter, and I definitely felt like we were going to run over the top of them, and Brizzy would beat up a bit, and we were humming and flying. And there was certainly a lot of tension come out of that box, because, a lot of those coaches, it was under much pressure as anybody, as much as the players. So, it was a good few weeks after that. And then we very quickly had to knuckle down and try and get going again. But, terrific year.
What was Choco like in the box that day? Because he was quite animated in that first quarter.
Well, he was. Yeah, there was. You probably heard the story 1,000 times. The communication wasn't working to the box, and Huts was trying to get stuff organised, and he was copping gobfuls, and there was a fair bit going on. I think it was a point down or a point up at half time, and but I think Peter Burgoyne would use just as a forward for the first half, and injected him in the second half as an on-baller, and he ripped the game open. And definitely towards halfway through the last, it was okay, this game's won, and sit back and enjoy the moment, enjoy the crowd, and enjoy all the work that's been done. And there was a big breath of stress gone out of everybody, and then a truckload of excitement, because the club had done a fair bit of work to get there, and realise how hard it is to win an AFL premiership. It's they've been blessed what they've been able to do in the SNFL, but it's certainly took a lot of hard work to get there in the AFL. And
then you come back the next year, 05. How'd you feel getting back? Obviously, you said that you lacked the confidence after a couple of knees. What was it like that year, obviously being your last one?
Well, I didn't obviously think it was going to be. I was hoping we'd get back to finals and having another crack at one. But, we'd been up for so long, and, we're probably just a little bit off subconsciously, and we copped a few injuries, and we're a little bit older and all those sorts of things. And I'm not sure where we finished at the end of the year, but, I think being out for a year and trying to get back, my back was gone. My knees were all right, but I was just couldn't move as much as I could. And if I couldn't move and run and get around the ground like I like to, I was a bit of a waste of space. So I think I did the knee towards the end of that home and away season, and then it was, that's another 12 months out. And, by then I would have been, I can't remember, 32, 33, and if I'm already sore now, what am I going to be like then? So, I didn't want to hold up a spot and just keep going around for the sake of a contract, or to try and get another game in when you knew you're probably knackered. So, I made the call, which was disappointing, but, anyhow, if you had said when I first started out, and it took me till 21 to try and get drafted, that I was going to play 150 odd games and captain the club and all those sorts of things, I was thrilled that I was able to get out of my body.
Was there we talk about retirement and looking back at your games over against Port Adelaide, with being at Port Adelaide, did you have a favourite game at all that you were part of?
Not really. I know we had a few games, not individually, but whenever you go to Perth and win in Perth was probably more against West Coast. We had West Coast were, like they have been, a really strong team since they've been in the competition. Really, they've had very few down years, and going over there was always difficult. But we had some great wins over there against some pretty good West Coast teams. And just because you're in a complete unique environment, a long way on a plane, which isn't a long way for world sportsmen, but in Australia it's 3 or 4 hour flight, and just a unique place. And then you got to spend the night with each other, so you get to celebrate a win, all those sorts of things. I just remember those trips being great. Obviously, our first win was really good against Geelong, but I don't remember individual games. I just remember the camaraderie of winning games on the road, which winning games at home, don't get me wrong, was brilliant. But when you win games away, sitting around with the teammates in the change rooms or back at the hotel, or if you go out for a couple of ales, they were the things I really cherished. And I remember those Perth games were really good like that.
And you speak about like winning games as a player. How was it different to celebrate as a coach? Was it like more relief going, just busting my ass straight for 3 hours trying to make sure everything works, and then you get the reward? So what was it like after a win as a coach compared to a player?
I didn't have many as a coach, mate. So, But yeah, look at that. Yeah, as a coach, you sort of enjoy, but there's so much going on that, getting your reviews ready for early in the week, checking with the players. Sometimes, the next day, if you're playing at home, you're going to the SNFL to watch some guys playing around in the SNFL. So yeah, you do enjoy it, but you're onto it within the next day. You're straight onto whatever it is, getting stuff ready. So yeah, it is different. Players are probably different to how we celebrate too nowadays. But yeah, you do move on quicker, and there's just so much more going on. You'll have coaches meetings, you'll be touching base with players, injuries or form or whatever it is. And then it's getting the preparation for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to roll around again and get stuck into it. So yeah, different, but certainly enjoyable to see your work you did during the week come to fruition and get something out of it. And if you're not getting your wins, to be able to see some small steps in watching players improve or seeing things you worked on during the week, seeing that come out in games.
And looking at now, like the players that are still around, how rewarding is it to see some of the players that their careers started under you still sort of excelling as well?
Well, at the start, you mentioned, your favourite players. I think everyone's favourite is Travis Boak. Everyone loves poking, don't they? No matter how old you are, how young you are, whatever. But it's just amazing that he's still going and at such a high level. I know he missed last week with a bit of a calf, or that'd be his first soft tissue stuff that he's probably had for ages, and he'll be trying to figure out why he did that and how he can make sure not that to not happen again. He's already played 300 odd games, so to see him and Robbie Gray, how he's still going. He's our first as an assistant coach, and then as a coach, he will always, after a game, you think he's not going to play next week. Look at him walk. He can't train. He's hobbling around. You guys watch him, and you know how he waddles around, but to see what he's able to do with his body and see what he's achieved and what he's won and all those sorts of things. And then they're still just amazing blokes. Tommy Jonas, I think I played him in his first game. He tagged Luke Hodge at the MCG. We played the Hawks and just annoyed played on ball. I think he was playing back for Nord at that stage. And, I think we got thumped, but he just loved the ability to see what he could do against one of the best players in the competition. And now, skipper in the club and doing a great job in that regard. So, yeah, it is terrific. And you don't get a sense of that when you're a player or an assistant coach. But, I'm in a WhatsApp group with our 04 guys, which isn't just the guys who won it, but you see how proud Chock is every time players mention himself. I think somebody took a video of Chock diverging a little bit. Who was it? Somebody was at a game at the MCG and Chock's doing kicking practice with one of the Melbourne players, but he's only able to kick about 30 metres now, and they were bagging him about his kicking style, and Chock was like his kick in school, and they were bagging him, and they posted the video on the WhatsApp group, and he'd come back, "Oh, you idiots, but I still love you." So you see those things, and it is great, players that you give opportunities to and see them develop, and how long a career they have. Like a Justin Westhoff, who retired a few years ago now, but just amazing to see what Westy was able to do out of his body, and then the person he become and how revered he become at the end towards his career, because those early years he was always the bit of the whipping boy for old Westy, but he turned into one of the most beloved figures at the club.
How do you sort of look after a bloke who probably can become a bit of a whipping boy? Like Westy was that earlier. I think Jasper Pittard became that at stages. But how do you look after a bloke who does get a lot of outside criticism? How do you look after him indoors?
Yeah, look, it's a little bit of their personality. Both Jasper and Westy were sort of they just let things wouldn't affect them. They were just cruisy guys. Westy would probably a little bit, but their nature would be, well, as long as my coaches and my teammates are saying I'm doing the right thing and I'm developing and those sorts of things, that's all I need to hear. So, but other guys that would affect, especially in the modern world now where, feedback is 24/7 nowadays. When I was playing, feedback was your coaches you saw during the week, and if you turn the radio on maybe walking down the street. But nowadays it's all that plus your phones and computers and whatever else we have. So it's just letting them know that they're developing well, they're important to the club, their role they're playing is great. And it normally happens to those guys who have got those figures that aren't the skinny figures or don't look like. Westy was a hell of a tough player. Things he did to his body, and he was a guy that, unfortunately, probably to his detriment early in his career, like it was towards the end, but he'd play forward, wing, ruck, behind the ball when we needed it, did everything. And that sometimes doesn't help you to play well. But it was more, let them know that they're developing well, they're doing some great stuff for the team, and they both had great personalities and the ability just to move on and get on with what they were doing.
I think one of the best games of footy under your coaching was round 24, 2011. You were the first ever Port Adelaide coach to coach the AFL team at the Adelaide Oval. How surreal was that day? It was a tough season, obviously, but to come out against the D's, Brett Ebert kicking the first goal, us getting a great run on, and just the whole atmosphere of 30,000 Port fans being there. How was that for you that day?
Yeah, that was amazing because, as you said, we had a pretty poor year and, we're down the bottom of the ladder and, not many people coming out to Footy Park, with the tarps on the stands and all those sorts of things. And, there was the build of the board at the time. We were pretty, pretty diligent in, where they saw footy going to be and where we needed to get to, and pushing that agenda pretty hard. And, for the AFL and then to be able to get that as a once-off. And as you say, I think Melbourne weren't going great either. Bales might have been coaching them then too, I think. And but to go from not a big crowd at Footy Park, all of a sudden I remember turning up to Adelaide Oval and the car park full like you were when you're going to go watch the Test cricket play. It was just the car park full and people walking everywhere. It was like, where's this coming from? And as you say, a huge crowd there, a beautiful venue to play footy at. Man, we played a pretty good footy, but I know there was a bit like, hey, we can't lose this because this is going to show everybody that this venue is great and also a bit of how we're going to finish off the year and try and bounce into next year. So, yeah, great. I remember Ebo's goal. I think Boki kicked an amazing one from the pocket somewhere. And just to hear the crowd and how keen everybody was to, hey, this is where we want to come and watch footy. And it took a few years to get there, but, look how special the place is now.
Yeah, the Boki talk and the Boki golf. I remember it all, Matty. I remember it all.
Yeah, good to see.
Yeah, they're all clips on my phone.
I think, Ant, we introduce our first new segment. Well, our new segment, I reckon.
Yeah, we're 10 episodes in and we thought, Matty Primus, what a way to introduce a segment. It's a new segment we'd like to call Brother. Now we talk about stories of players basically spending time together on footy trips or, roommating together. Have you got any stories of your time of your career you were roommate on that wasn't what you wanted?
You just probably have that stories just on a footy trip or something. Well, you've probably heard it a few times before. Have you heard the Andre Agassi, Steffi Graf story?
I'm not sure if I have.
No.
We went to what year was it? 2000 so it was 2003. So we need to get out of the country because we lost to Sydney, I think, back by Collingwood at the MCG. So we had a footy trip to Hawaii, and then myself, Josh Carr, Dean Brogan, and Chad Corns went to Las Vegas, LA, and Las Vegas for a bit of a side trip after that. And we'd hooked up with Darren Cale because he was coaching on Andre Agassi. We said, we're going to be over. Can we catch up? He says, yeah. He lived in a gated community. Come over to my place. We lived on a golf course, so we played 18 holes. We had a few beers and a barbie. And he said, we'll go out to dinner tonight. I'll drive you back into the strip, go to the hotel, get changed, and I'll come and pick you up. So he did that. And then he goes, I've got a mate coming with us. So I've got to drive back out to suburbia, and we go through another gated community. And then we get out of his car and go up to this nice house, nothing out of this world, but a nice house. And we're walking up the footpath to the front door, and he goes, I just forgot my wallet. I go back to my car, knock on the door, my mate will answer it. So we go up and knock on the door, and Andre Agassi opens the door in black Nike shorts, a black singlet, Nike singlet. And he goes, g'day, Matt. G'day, Dean. G'day, Chad. G'day, Josh. As you can imagine, our drawers are on the ground, and we're like, Andre, come in. And then Darren comes up behind us and is giggling away. And we're going through the house, and there was a World Series game of baseball going on. He was watching. I think he was having a punt on that. And going to the kitchen, and there's Steffi cooking away veggies and salad and stuff. And we're like, whoa. So we met Steffi, then we go out the back, and he just had his little son, Gil, I think his name was, and then he's cooking a barbecue. I've been marinating these steaks all day for you boys. And in the esky there is, this might be older than you guys, but Carlton Cold beers. Do you remember Carlton Cold beers? You probably don't.
I think so, actually.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, they were the beers of choice back in early 2000s. He goes, I've got a case full of them for you. We're like, how good is this? So we sit around having beers, chatting to Andre and Steffi over a barbecue, and we're going and have dinner and just talk. And we probably stayed there for 3 or 4 hours, and then we got out of there, and We went out to a nightclub late on that night, but we had that much energy, it would just flat as tacks, It was like, this is amazing. We just, at that time, probably the most well-known athlete in the world, or if not, top 2 or 3. So that was amazing, 3 or 4 hours to be invited into their house.
And who'd you room with when you went into state? Who's your roommate when you'd have the state trips?
Brett Montgomery was my roommate for most of my career. Monty was. He always had a song. I forget what his song. You have to ask him if you see him around. But we'd play on the TV. Jennifer, what's her name? Lopez song. That was a song to get us out of the door and get us on our way. But me and Monty roomed together all the time, and we always made sure we packed a winning kit in case we had a win to be able to go out that night. Looking. We had some good times, me and Monty. I mean, we used to have about 10 of us play cards the night before the game. So we used to try and get in Gav's room a fair bit. When Gav would go to his door, we'd just barge in his door and go and play cards and trash his room and then leave it to him. We'd always have a big cards night, and then Gav was there, Dewey, myself, Monty, quite a few different guys, and that was a sort of our relaxing while the footy was going on in the background. So we had some great away trips.
Who was the best at cards and who was the worst, would you say?
Who was the worst? Gav was probably good and bad. He had so much money he could keep on just betting and there was a few sharks. Dewey was pretty smart with how he went about it, but they were good fun, good times. And when you're a good team and you're winning a lot at home or away, road trips are always good fun.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh my God. That's a great first Big Brother segment, I'd say, Ant.
That's ticked a lot of the boxes that I wanted to know. So well done, Matty. I think, Huddo, we go into the next one, which you're very keen. Matty, I'm telling you, he's been pumping this up for months.
Oh,
he's like, if we get Matty Primus on, I've got to show you this, Ant. I've got to show you this. So this is random Port merch where we showcase some random merch that's just running around the house. And Huddo, I'm guessing you just want to kick it off, mate?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So this is the first ever frame I was given. Ever. First ever frame. So, Matty, I thought you'd enjoy this. There we go.
That's up in the bedroom of Mum and Dad's house still too, one of them.
Oh, excellent. So I've had that since I reckon I was about 7 years old. And I'm 27 now, so I've had it for 20 years. So, yes, first ever one that I had sat very proudly on my bedroom wall until I moved out to Rome.
I hope you didn't pay too much for it, mate.
No, I didn't pay a cent for it.
Even better.
But no, that is mine, Ant. Matty, what'd you wheel out? What have you found?
Well, I'm not a memorabilia. I don't keep stuff, and I don't know where jumpers and stuff. I probably gave them away or whatever I did. But my daughter's got interested in my footy career, just more as she got older. She just turned 16, so she was only a baby when I sort of just finished. So they don't really understand footy to a large extent, but she was going through old cupboards that we cleaned out, and she found my John Cale Best and Fairest.
Oh, yes.
That's sick.
Yes, it's this bit here is a bit stained. I'm not sure what's happened there, but John Cale 2002, and certainly I'm glad she found it because there certainly was a terrific night, and as you say with Jack, what he's done for the club, how good he's been. It's certainly something I'll keep. I knew I had it somewhere. It's just a matter of finding it. And I found it, but we only come across it a couple of months ago, so it's worked well into this segment.
That's awesome. Wheels out of Best and Fairest. Yeah, good luck, Ant. What have you got?
I don't have a Best and Fairest. I've got a runner-up somewhere from last year, but it's not John Cale worthy. It is the replica of the 1997 Guernsey that we wore. That we wore in 2016 as a 20-year anniversary.
Yeah.
So I thought I haven't seen this in a couple of years, and
that brings back memories, mate.
So,
that brings back memories of the old footy park days, and
it does.
Yeah, some of the players that. Yes.
It at least to bring out the best in people. And my mum used to say that Matty Primus had the best arms in the game at that stage. So I think it really complemented your physique, Matty. And no wonder you got the 1998 Bachelor of the Year.
Do you know the best bit is, Ant? My mum said the same thing as well.
My mum was always like, I've never seen a better good-looking captain.
That's a long time ago now, 1998. A while ago, ages ago.
Oh, that's sensational. Huddo, our next segment is the most controversial segment on this podcast, which is quick fire questions. Matty, are you happy to take some quick questions?
I am, yes. Fire away. That's all we've got.
We talk about controversy off the field and, talking about, people's decision making, how they played, and the media and as such. This is really going to test you, though. So we'll start with simply, what's your favourite TV show?
Now?
Yes. Yep,
yeah,
all time, either or.
Just finished Ozark, but my all-time would be The Wire.
Oh,
ooh,
not bad.
I like that.
Yeah, but
your
Ozark, so that was terrific.
favourite Simpsons character?
Homer.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
Can't go wrong.
no, exactly.
We've all got a bit of Homer.
Oh, we do, don't we?
Huddo does, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Your go-to karaoke song?
The Love Shack by the B-52s.
Yes.
Great beat.
Oh, that'd be good.
That would have been belted out a few nights. Your favourite flavoured potato chip?
Salt and vinegar.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
You
Washed
can't.
out with cold beer.
Oh, don't tempt me.
Oh. I think we said the exact same thing on the pod as well, that it goes down really well with a beer. I can't remember who
It does. It does. Gets rid of that spice out of your mouth.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a bit more controversial. What is there more of in the world, Matty? Doors or wheels?
My kids gave me this question not long ago. I forget what the answer is. I'll say wheel.
No, it's not wheels.
Oh,
Controversial.
There we go. Yes, they did come up with that through. They must have seen on TikTok or whatever you see it on nowadays. But there you go.
And lastly, the most controversial question: what is your favourite flavour of shapes?
Barbecue.
Yes, come on.
Oh no! Look at Huddo. He's devastated. What's yours, mate? What's yours, Huddo?
Chicken crimpy. Oh,
Was that wasn't one of the first ones that come out, was it? That was just an add-on later down the track.
I think it was one of the originals.
Was it?
In the orange box.
I should go check my pantry. My kids love them. I think we've got one of each in there. So, but no, you can't. Barbecue shapes. Once you have one, good night, Irene.
Oh,
that's so good, because you say it's one of the add-ons. It's that irrelevant. It may as well be.
I'm sure you guys had this debate a few times, eh?
Oh, it's a regular thing. It's very much.
The only person that has agreed with Huddo about chicken crimpy was Dom Cassisi.
Dom. Yeah, there you go. I wouldn't have thought Dom would put that stuff in his body, but there you go.
That's very, very good. A few barbecues on the list so far on the episodes, which is great to see. We move into obscure Port Adelaide players. Huddo, how about you kick us off with one that you've got in mind?
Yeah, see, I was trying to think of one that maybe Matty had coached or had played with, so that probably takes up most of Port Adelaide's existence in the AFL. So I decided to go one with the Sean Burgoyne trade. Played for Essendon, played 8 games. Also ended up at Nuriupta as well. Jay Nash.
Jay Nash.
Hey,
yes.
Nashy.
Yes, that is obscure. I am bloody hopeless with remembering. You know, when you guys asked me just before this, I went through 01 and 02 just on a list, and there was 5-6 players down there I'd forgotten about. You know, not for bad reason. Just like, oh well, they're on our list, you know. And Nash, it was just straight away. Then it was 5 or 6 seconds. Oh yeah, I did remember him. That's yeah. There you go. It's amazing the amount of players that come onto your list, you know, for 1 or 2 years and may not play, sort of thing. But yeah, there you go, Nashy. What years were that?
2010 he was here, so I certainly hope that you remembered him. You did coach him.
I remembered him, but I try and get those memories out of my year, the 010, 11 and 12, mate.
That is fair. That is very fair.
I love the side swipe on the 01-02 list. The captain doesn't even remember you being on the list.
20 years ago.
Very true.
Well, Matty, did you have one? Did you think of any, or is there just too many?
It's probably not obscure as that, but when you brought up that jumper there, players for whatever reason that came to my mind were Donald Dickey and Nigel Feagett.
Yes.
Nigel Feagett.
Yeah, they're great Magpies boy, and I remember him in those jumpers. It was sort of, I don't know why. Braden Lyle, obviously captain. I remember that jumper on Braden, but it was the faces that came to you straight away. I remember, Feegsy. I played against him a little bit when I was at Norwood, and then, hard and tough, and had the flowing mullet, so he'd look beautiful in today's modern game, wouldn't he?
Exactly.
Ahead of his time, Feegsy. But I don't know how many years he was on our list, 2 or 3 years there, or 4 years. But I think he had a good game when we won our first game in Melbourne. We beat the Bulldogs at Optus Stadium. I think he kicked 4 or 5, either against the Bulldogs or Carlton when we come out of nowhere. And Donnie Dickey, I remember that jumper over with Donnie. And then I remember we played the Ansett Cup Grand Final against the Hawks at Waverley Park.
99, yep.
And Donnie, I'll tell you a funny story. Donnie had a cap on, which was a bit strange, but that was no worries. And Donnie had a fair year, 97. He took the competition by storm, playing on the wing. Anyhow, we did our warm-up and then got into our kit ready to go out on the ground for the main warm-up, and Donnie took his hat off and he had a lightning bolt shaved into the side of his head. And you can imagine Chock, how he thought about that when he saw that.
Oh, no.
It was too late to say bad luck, you're not playing, because we were about to go out. And we didn't fire a shot in that game. The Hawks smoked us. Donnie didn't do too much along with the rest of us. He certainly copped an ear bash and about like that. One, don't do it. But two, if you're going to have a haircut, make sure you produce the goods. So, but yeah, I remember. Yeah, that jumper is Nigel Feagett and Donald Dickey. For some reason, when I see that jumper, I remember their faces. And they weren't obscure. They certainly played a big part in us in the first few years there. But that was some time ago now. It's going 25 years ago. So. That's a long time.
Did you ever rock an outrageous hairdo, Matty, at all?
No, mate. No. I was parted down the side, and that was about it. I might have got brave enough to have a crew cut towards the end. But no, haircuts weren't my go, mate. A few of the boys, certainly Jared Schofield, always loved to have a bit of product in there, or different colours, different tinge to it. There was a few of the boys that certainly would have looked good in the modern game now with the amount of hairstyles and colour going around.
Outrageous, isn't it?
Well, we say hairstyles, and we will get to Better Call Saul in a sec, but Stephen Salopek, 04, round 1. We've seen Chad Corns interviewed after the game saying it's outrageously bad. What were your thoughts on Stephen Salopek's hairdo round 1, 2004 with the highlights?
Yeah, no good at all, was it? You'd look back on it now and you'd still be embarrassed now. Even you couldn't even say that was a part of what people did back then, because nobody else had one like that. It was that bad. Sal, I don't know what he was thinking, but that was a part of Sal. He had that in him. He had some exuberance about himself, and I certainly believed himself. But yeah, that haircut certainly copped it. Not only just for that week, for the rest of the year, I reckon. But to Sal's credit, he'd always have something different going on with the hair, so he certainly loved that concept and was attracted to his hair. But yes, there was another name, Sal. I haven't spoken to Sal for a hell of a long time. Obviously, you guys do a little bit.
No, we haven't. We just
take the mickey out of him.
We absolutely love Sal. So one day we're going to get him on the pod, hopefully.
Get him on and talk to him about his shoulders. His shoulders would be naked. I don't know how many shoulders he had, the poor bloke.
Oh, poor bloke. Indeed.
That's very good.
Ant-Man,
I'll quickly mention mine. It was actually someone that's current, and he played one game on the weekend. And I thought he should get a mention on the pod because he was outstanding in his quarter and a half. Bryn Teakle. He's going to go down as obscure, regardless of what happens in the future. But I thought I'd just give him a mention. He broke his collarbone. I currently have a broken collarbone, so I thought, there's a bit of linkage there.
There you go.
Between us. So he should just get a quick mention. While we talk about Ruckman and how good you were, Matty.
How did he go? We were probably flying down to Melbourne Saturday, so I didn't see the game. But how did he go for his quarter and a bit?
He went really well, actually.
Yeah,
went really well.
Yeah, he was outstanding. He took the game. It was a bit like you, Matty. Just absolutely bamboozled the other Ruckman, and
I never bamboozle people, mate. Don't might have bamboozled with what I said, but never with my skill or anything.
Did you wheel out a few good sledges in your time, Matty?
Yeah, when we got good, not individual specific sledges, but yeah, just getting stuck into older ruckmen that I was against. I remember Scotty Wind. I had a game. Scotty was definitely towards the end, and we were a pretty good team. And yeah, I look back now and think, what the hell was I saying? This is a legend of the game and a lovely bloke who I've met quite a few times afterwards. But definitely verbally was something that I used to try and get under guys' skins because I wasn't able to do it by my marking or whatever, those sorts of things. So you had some good battles, but other times Brisbane were very good at it also. So it was. You'd pick on one guy at Brisbane, and next you'd have 15 on your back. They were certainly the bee's knees are doing it too.
What was the best one that you heard on the field? Not necessarily from you, but may have come towards you or towards a teammate, or.
Oh, gee, now you're putting me under the pump, aren't you?
This is payback for the barbecue shapes.
No, I can't think of one off the top of my head now. No, I can't think of one now. Something about Treaders' hair, probably. Towards the tried to hang on to it and then finally got rid of it.
Oh no!
It didn't bother him too much, Treaders, but there were something coming there. But no, I don't remember anything specific. No.
I think we'll take the Treaders' hair.
It's always good to get stuck into that.
All right, let's do this one final segment, Matty. It's called Better Call Sal, where we talk about our favourite Stephen Salapic moments. And the spotlight is on you this week. Do you have any specific memories of Stephen Salapic over your time?
No, not when you threw that to me. Not really. I do remember the hair discussion. Definitely about that. Probably I don't have a funny Sal moment. What I do remember was the amount of times he'd shoulder injuries, but then he'd come back, whether it was after you have a massive op or have 3 weeks off or a month off or whatever, and come back and then just do something crazy, going back with the fight of the ball because of the role he played on the wing, and he always go in the air no matter how he's going, his form or how his shoulders were, and just getting smacked again and then picking himself up. So not a funny story, and that probably defeats a bit of the purpose of it, but I do remember just this guy just kept on going back to the well and put himself in harm's way, and he certainly paid for the price for that, with his shoulders over the journey. But nothing specific, but we'll go with the hair one that
it's actually quite remarkable. I think the last 3 times that we've done this has all resulted in Sal going back to the flight of the ball. This is the first time it hasn't been resulting in him getting knocked out. So
he did do it. He did do it a lot of times, didn't he?
Oh, it's crazy. I think Bobby Carlisle said that Jacob Surgeon would often chip a ball up in the air and someone would be running underneath it and get cleaned up. And he just said at the end of his Serge, he's done it again. Just hospital balls in the air.
I don't think Serge meant to kick it like that. That's just he was a poor kick, Serge. So he just.
Oh, bloody hell. But
he's doing good things at North, Serge, isn't he?
Yeah, very good things. Doing a very good job. So see how they end up going. But Matty, it's been an absolute pleasure. And from me, yes, Ant did say at the start of the show that, I was your biggest fan growing up. So thank you so much for accepting the invite, even though it was 8 weeks later, but that's all
6 months
good.
later.
But thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
No worries. Thanks very much for your time, guys. Good to chat, and good luck for the rest of the season with Port.
Thank you, mate. Thank you, Matty. You too as well. All the best with Southport.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.